Well, good morning, everyone. Thomas Montgomery here. We get together most weekday mornings with our distribution partners to talk strategies, tips, techniques, and support each of you. It is 8 o'clock Central on December 20th, 2022. Our topic today is reflecting on how we onboard clients. So frankly, this isn't a new change. We evolved this a while back. Just want to make sure that everyone understands what each client will receive, what they should expect, and just so you understand what happens once the client has enrolled. So I have my screen shared here with you, and what you're seeing is what we call the Building Your Loan Package. This is sent to each new client same day or within 24 hours of them enrolling. So if you're an affiliate, then those prospective clients are using your link to go to your landing page. They agree to the terms and conditions, they enroll, and then we send them this. If you're a white label partner, then they're obviously contracting with you differently. But regardless, this is how we are now approaching implementation. It's very important that you understand what's on this, so we're all on the same page. Let me first begin by stating that this is now a two-page document. The second page we'll go ahead and begin with, and then we'll bounce back to the first page. So there are three things that you and I do as technical advisors. We help build financial literacy within the small business environment. Secondly, we help small businesses build loan packages. And third, we help them become credible enough on paper to be able to get approved for the funding they want. What you and I know, you and I are reasonable. Some people are not too reasonable. So we have to meet the underwriting criteria to get approved. It doesn't matter how bad we want money, how smart we are. Other variables don't matter. It doesn't matter of our age, race, or gender. What does matter is, do we meet the underwriting criteria? Well, then the logical inference from that would be, well, what's the underwriting criteria? Well, there's lots of different underwriting criteria because there's lots of different funding types. That's why we need to build the loan package, which we'll talk about in a moment. That's more on page 1, to figure out what funding plan the client is best suited for. So we'll come back to that in a moment. Here, we're talking about the first of those three elements of what you and I do to help small business owners become more financially literate. Now, we've discussed this several times. I understand that there are many small business owners that don't care about financial literacy. They just want the results. They just want funding. So they are not required to go through the financial literacy. It's made available to them, and of course, it's made available to them for free. We encourage it on page 1. Here's the breakdown that I wanted to go through with you briefly. So we have an award-winning curriculum. There are 4 modules, module 1, 2, 3, and 4. However, there is the kind of the preface, which we call the 27 mistakes. And so technically there are 5 training modules altogether. So it used to be that we drip this out. A client would enroll, and each week we would send them the next lesson. Now we're going to make, and now we have been, now and recently, we've been making available all the modules up front using this new Building Your Loan Package Adobe that is sent to each client within 24 hours of their enrollment. So they'll have access to the 4 modules right away. If you've not gone through this, I encourage you to do so. All right, so let's go back to page 1. So what are we describing? We're describing our implementation process of new clients. They're going to receive this via Adobe, usually same day or within 24 hours. Why do we send it via Adobe? Because it's trackable. We can show that we did onboard the client, a little bit of a CYA, but also the deliverability of Adobe's is better than that of a direct email. And secondly, we set it up with Adobe where it's asking them to initial off to acknowledge this. That's not a new contract. They're not committing to something new, but we do want their confirmation that, yes, they've received it. And so within Adobe, it's sent to them. They get daily reminders, and we want them to plug in. If they don't assimilate this, they probably won't be successful. So let's go through the highlights of this. And of course, if you have any questions, comments, or concerns, we can discuss it. Thank you for enrolling in the Guaranteed Funding Program. Let's get started. And we start with Learn and Support. We provide a free, concise, practical financial literacy program to prepare you for the development of the loan package, including personalized assistance. It is referred to as a small business certification curriculum. And notice that's what we're talking about over here on page 2. While you're not required to participate in the financial literacy resource, it's certainly recommended. Please refer to the second page, just as I showed you, for details and access. So this is at the top of the page. I'm sometimes disappointed when I talk to clients and we're working with them. I'm asking, okay, have you gone through the modules to create greater familiarity, so you understand how lenders and extenders of credit look at you and your business? And far too often the answer is not. So if you wanted to do anything to help the clients be more successful, just simply encourage them to go through this. They don't have to, but they're encouraged to. Furthermore, we're teaching them some very practical information. For example, in Module 3, we talk about financial management. And so part of this is helping them understand what is a balance sheet. What is a balance sheet? What is an income statement? And that's really important, basic knowledge that any small business owner should know, but some of them don't know that. And so I don't know how I can belabor that anymore. The financial literacy component is important. It's part of the onboarding, and you know now how it's introduced and how they have immediate access to it. Okay, so let's move on. Then we get to documentation. The analogy that I'll make, maybe you don't like, but it's the best I can come up with. Today's Tuesday, of course, but last night was Monday Night Football. So let's just roll back the clock and say it was yesterday, and you and I are planning to get together, watch the Monday Night Football game, and make dinner. Well, what are we going to make for dinner? Well, we'd probably go over to the refrigerator, open up the double doors, look in, and see what ingredients we have. So that would dictate probably what our recipe would be for what we're going to make for dinner. Well, analogous to that, we need to figure out some baseline information about the client to begin to formulate their funding plan, because different clients have different circumstances, so different types of funding might be better suited than others. But in the beginning, we need to get what they have. I sometimes want to bang my head against the desk because we clearly state this is not all or nothing. Right? If you have it, provide it. And we'll talk about the mechanics in a second, talking about the client providing it. And if they don't have it, don't provide it. So it's just, the analogy, we're making dinner, we don't have ketchup. Well, if we don't have ketchup, then maybe we're not going to have French fries. I don't know. But the bottom line is we need to figure out what they do have. So we're not putting a burden or an obstacle saying, oh, well, this won't work. You don't have all 13 things. Well, we don't know what they have until we collect what they do have. Then we can assimilate that and then create a go forward plan. So let's briefly go through the documents that we ask them for. But again, it's not all or nothing. We will assist them in putting together what they need that they don't have, but what they need could vary based upon the type of funding we're going to go after. So the first thing we ask them for is their business plan with financial projections. And again, you're going to see here the instructions of how they provide this to us. We'll get to the how it's submitted in the moment. Right now, we're just listing the what. And so, a pessimist would say, well, what's this, Tom? I mean, you guys promised to help them build a business plan. Well, sure, but we don't know if they already have one. So all we're doing is asking, do you have one already? And if so, provide it. If you don't, we can help you with that. So just don't infer incorrectly by us asking for what they have initially that somehow we're disregarding our role and our responsibilities, but we need to figure out what they have. So business plan with financial projections. If they have it, they're going to provide it to us, and we'll talk about the mechanism for that in a moment. If they don't have it, then they don't provide it. It's fine. We move on. We're not stuck on what they don't have. We're simply trying to collect what they do have. Their personal financial statement, which calculates their net worth, verification of life insurance for a collateral assignment, income tax returns, personal and business. And again, I'll get some goofy ass questions. Well, my business is brand new. I don't have business tax returns. Well, of course, you just formed a business a week ago, a month ago, 6 months ago, during the current calendar year. That's why all this says, if applicable, it's not all or nothing. So that's the battle that somehow we find ourselves fighting, is despite it being, I think, pretty well laid out in writing, sometimes people will misread. Interim balance sheet and income statement. Oh, I don't have that. Well, fine. We're asking to provide what you do have. And as we talked about, we're going to teach them about the relevance of that in module 3, and then we can help them. Personal bank statements, business bank statements, driver's license, if they have a lease or business license or business license, to provide the formation documents that show that they're the owner of the business, their business credit score, resume, bio. And then a number of these items are needed for any owner that owns 20% or more. So if they have a minority owner in terms of a small owner that owns less than 20%, 19% or less, typically we can skip that. But if they have, if it's 50-50, for example, I was talking to a client last week, Miss Gordon, and she's awesome. She's a 50% owner, and we're going through and building the loan package out, getting ready to submit for funding. And we realized, well, Miss Gordon, you're a 50% owner, correct? Yes. Well, is there someone else that owns some of your company? Yes. I think it's her sister owns the other 50%. Well, we need to do one of two things: either get the data on the other owner, or you need to buy her out, right? And get her out of the picture, because most lenders will expect information about owners that have 20% or more. So in her case, just for conversation's sake, she's not sure that her sister, her business partner, is willing to provide her information. It's like, well, then you need to work on buying her out, right? Because you want to move forward with funding. You seem to qualify for funding. We're ready to go apply for funding, but we can't because we're missing the 50% owners information, the other 50% owners information. So we work with the client on strategy to resolve those. We're asking the client to provide these files in a legible PDF format with file names that are appropriately labeled. And yet, one more time, we've highlighted, it's not all or nothing. So first, we make them aware of the document set. Then it's time to upload. So there's 2 steps here. So it states very clearly, once you, meaning the client, have all the documents available, in other words, whatever they do have, then they're going to email us, and we're going to create a Dropbox folder specific for them. So that's a free, secure way for them to transfer the files. They kind of just upload the files, and so then they can see what's in their Dropbox folder, and we can see what's in it. And it's much better than emailing files back and forth. Some people are lesser computer sophisticated than others, but Dropbox is not real complicated to use. So the first step is for them to let us know that they're ready. And then the second step, then we'll set up their Dropbox and send an invitation to them. And then the second step is for them to let us know once they've uploaded their files. So, many of you have been with us for a while, and the best question you could ever ask is why? Well, why are we doing it this way? We want to accelerate the client's process so they can get funding as quickly as possible. And we don't know where to go for funding until we have an understanding of the client's mitigating circumstances. Let's talk about the business plan for a second. Does all sources of capital require a formal business plan? No. Is it good for all businesses to have a business plan? It is. But why is it essential, at least, to have some aspects of a business plan for this to work? Well, we have to know how much capital the client wants and the uses of funds, and that's commonly included in the business plan. Now, theoretically, they could just create an addendum, no certain formatting, and upload that, but there's no way that we can come up with a funding plan to get the client funded if they can't even articulate. And we'll work with them, so I'm not dismissing the client, but I'm just saying we have to know how much money they want and what they're going to use it for, because it makes a big difference. So these are the two steps. Another good why question that you could ask, no one did this morning, is, well, if you know that they need to collect these documents and you know that we're going to provide them a Dropbox folder, why don't we just go ahead and provide the Dropbox folder right away? And it's more of a controlled set of action steps that we want the client to be engaged. We want to be able to document that the client is participating. It takes a moment or two to set up a new Dropbox folder, but this is the way that our new ownership has asked us to do it. Alert the client of the data set that we're looking for, that it's not all or nothing, and ask the client to simply engage by just sending a brief email to us to let us know that they're ready for the Dropbox folder. Then they get the Dropbox folder. Then they must let us know that they're completed uploading. Now, Dropbox technically updates us each time a file is uploaded, but that doesn't let us know when the client is finished uploading. Maybe they've uploaded 3 documents, but they have 3 more to go. Well, we wouldn't know that. So we are asking the clients to be involved and engaged. And so the first is to let us know that they're ready for the Dropbox, and the second is to let us know that they've completed uploading what they do have. So that puts them on the funding committee agenda. We have a funding committee, normally meets Wednesdays and Saturdays, Wednesday evenings, Saturday mornings, and that's subject to change based upon holidays, travel schedules, or what have you. But that's ultimately what we want to do as soon as possible. So from the time that a client signs up, within 24 hours, they're getting this. They're put on alert of what we're looking for. That's not all or nothing. And from that, they control how long it takes to get to the funding committee. It's not you, it's not me. I don't know that they could complain that somehow we're moving too slow, because they're going to get this within 24 hours. They're going to let us know as soon as they're ready for their Dropbox. They're going to let us know as soon as they've uploaded what they do have. And then they're going to go on the agenda for the next funding committee, normally Wednesdays, Saturdays. You might ask, well, what's the role of the funding committee? Well, the role of the funding committee is to look at the data set that does exist and see if it's enough that we can match them with a capital raise. We call it a capital match. You can see down here. Do we have enough to confirm that they're ready to go to funding? And if so, what type? Because there's many different funding types and different mitigating circumstances to match. Or alternatively, if we don't have everything that we need, to get back with the client. So you can see that we've made some significant changes over the past few months. First of which is we're providing access to the financial literacy curriculum up front, so they don't have to wait for that to dribble out to them once a week. It used to be that they get this data set request after, well, I shouldn't say after, during module 4, which would have been week 4. So that was a 28-day, not a delay, but a 28-day process to get to that point. Now they're getting it, let's call it day 1. and we can get them into funding committee very quickly. It really should be within a week of them signing the contract or agreeing to the terms and conditions. As long as they're engaged, we should be able to get them to the funding committee. Again, when we come out of the funding committee, there's a couple different scenarios. It's either, okay, based upon what you have, we've got enough information, we're ready to go, here's what we recommend. If you agree, let's go to funding. Or it could be, hey, we're missing some crucial information, like the example I gave you earlier. Thank you for providing what you provided, but we really don't know how much money you're looking for or what you're going to use it for. So that's okay. So it takes the burden off of you or off of me or any one individual. Now the funding committee is able to issue guidance based upon what's needed. Now, let's say the client needs help building a business plan. Great. That's part of what we do. Let's say the client needs help filling out the personal financial statement or strengthening their financial statement. Great. But let's say that they have just issues. They don't have enough cash flow coming through, personal or business, for the type of funding they want. Fine, we'll help them with that. So what we're doing is focusing on getting the initial data set and then making recommendations, and then we can provide the ongoing consultations. This is not dissimilar to when you go to the doctor, right? If you go to the doctor, when you first check in, you don't walk into the exam room and immediately get a diagnosis, right? That the doctor and or nurses have to collect information. Well, do you have a temperature or not? All right, what's your blood pressure? What other symptoms do you have? So there's data that has to be collected to create a plan. We need data to put together the capital match. All right, so let's shrink this down a bit and answer questions or concerns you have. So in summary, client signs up. They're going to be sent this building your loan package via Adobe. They're going to get daily reminders. And what we're hoping to do is to encourage them to do two things right out of the chute. Number one, plug into the small business certification, because knowledge is power. Do they have to do that? No, but it's made immediately available to them. And secondly, is to let them know, okay, here's the documentation we're going to be looking for. If you have it, get it ready. If you don't have it, it's okay. It's not all or nothing. And specifically, let us know when you're ready to start uploading. Let's talk about clients that don't participate. So let's say we have a client that enrolls and they don't participate in the financial literacy. Well, that's their choice. It's really their loss. They're not required to do this. Alternatively, let's say the client enrolls, but they don't provide the documentation. Well, we would call that a failure to participate, right? How in the world would we ever help them get funding if we don't have the data set to figure out what the capital match is, what they would qualify for? So if we have a client that enrolls, that doesn't participate, with the guidance of our new ownership, we will then send them a notice of breach. Nothing mean, nothing hurtful, just saying, hey, you're not participating, failure to participate, and put them on alert, because the goal is for them to participate and for them to get funding, minimum of 100,000. So hopefully then that will kind of get their attention and say, oh, okay, I need to get involved, I want to do so. If they fail to participate, then it's just a straight out breach of the contract. And that's certainly not what we want. But contracts should be, in our opinion, in writing, because it clarifies both parties to the agreement, their responsibilities. And so when a client enrolls, we're going to do our best effort to assist them in going through this process, and we're going to work with them to raise at least 100,000, but they have to be involved. They have to be engaged. All right, so who has questions, comments, concerns on the implementation process of clients that are enrolling and this document or associated processes? If you'll just type the question into the Q&A, question and answer Zoom, I'm happy to answer those questions. I just want everyone to be on the same page and understand. Now, if you're an affiliate, what do you need to do? Really nothing, right? refer people to your landing page, they enroll, we take care of this, you get paid $250 a pop. So as an affiliate, you have no implementation responsibilities. In contrast, if you're a white label partner, one of our more esteemed, involved colleagues, then you should certainly be engaged, because we're doing a 50-50 split with you as a white label partner. You should be motivating them, encouraging them to follow these steps. Now, some of you that are white label partners really want to be engaged in the financial literacy, and that's fine. If you want to do more, we're going to provide them access to it as shown here. But if you want to be more involved with them, provide them their participant guides and other task involvement, you're certainly welcome to. But quite frankly, with this 2-page PDF, they should be able, a reasonably competent person, an average person, a normal person should be able to follow these steps, get engaged, and be successful. All right, does anyone have any questions, comments, concerns that you would like me to address today? This is the evolution, the iteration that we've moved to, with the goal of providing better client service, better client satisfaction, and to get them funded more quickly, which also gets you paid more quickly. So, all right, Timothy's asking about one-on-one calls. So, frankly, we prefer to start engaging with the client verbally once they have provided the data set, because we don't have a whole lot to say, right? Until we have the data set and get them to the funding committee, there's just not a lot to say. So if they want to speak beforehand, that's fine. They're welcome to schedule a call. But Timothy's picking up, he noticed that on here, he's not seeing our Calendly link that we've normally promoted. So normally we will engage the client and be involved with the client once they've provided the initial data set, so we have something to work off of. Now, I know many clients would love to talk and chat, but we need the information to do our job. Once we have the information, then we would typically go into that process of scheduling routine calls with the client until the funding process is completed. Good question. Anyone else have any questions, comments, concerns on this process? Let me ask you this. Let me turn it around before we leave our call today. How would you do it differently? So we have a lot of people on our webinar Zoom today. Charles, how would you do it different than this? Or does this make sense? Alfred, how would you do it different than this? Or does it make sense to you the way that we're doing it now? Andrea, would you do it differently? Francette, Jeanette, we have a large group of people. Does anyone have constructive criticism on how you would do it differently? Now, I realize some of you may have submitted clients in before we switched to this process. And what we've mentioned to you in a prior training is, if you have prior clients that you want us to send this to be a better roadmap, just let us know. We're not blindly sending it out to everyone in the database, but if you retroactively going forward, everyone receives it now. But if you, for instance, you're a white label partner and you've got a group of clients, we can provide this to you and you can send it to them, or we can send it to them if you alert us of it. All right, well, I think we're all on the same page. This is a good model. It's effective. I think the biggest point of dispute is, should we make this required or not? It's not technically necessary to be financially literate to get funding. An educated client is a better client if they go through at least the getting ready for your capital raise of 27 mistakes. They're more likely to be successful, but we're just not going to force it. We're not going to say, no, we're not going to help you get your capital if you don't go through this. So it's made available. I encourage you to promote it. You could do a fair amount. A number of you are out teaching some of this curriculum or all this curriculum already as a way to generate leads, which is smart to do. All right, well, I think we got it covered. Oh, well, we got one question coming in. So Francett's one of our white label partners, and that's true. Some of our white label partners are wanting to send this out themselves instead of us, and that's fine. We just need we need to really get your email expressing that, and then we'll mark your file so that's the case. The reason is, as a white label partner, your contract with us, we've got promises of certain things that we're supposed to do, and this helps us get started with that. If you want to waive our responsibility to send this out and you're going to take responsibility, then we just need to get that in writing from you. Because what we don't want is a white label partner to say, oh, you guys don't send it, all, meaning the white label partner will send it, and the white label partner doesn't send it, the client never gets going, and we don't want it to come back as egg on our face. Well, we never did anything. Well, if you tell us not to send this, then we won't send it to your new clients. It's just, it's up to you. You just need to let us know. All right, well, thanks everyone. We'll see you back tomorrow morning. Have a great day. Bye-bye.